Assalamualaikum, everyone. Imad Hussein here, and we're ready for our week four podcast. I'm going to bring our panelists in right now. First off, it's Omar Asawi. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikum salam. How's it going, guys?
We have Omar Baksh
What's going on?
and the long-awaited debut of Zuhair Fancy.
Long waited by you, no one else really.
Boo!
Are those trophies I see in the background?
I think it was long-awaited by.
It's my son's Lego, and yes, there are some of my children's trophies.
Some.
Did you just start going
ISLAM
on Zoom calls? Like you're still going over the wrong shoulder.
is,
I
I
can't
can
block
guarantee
the
you,
mess.
none of those trophies are Islam Brotherhood awards.
All right. Well, why don't we get started? And a little something new we're trying this week is putting a little bit of a timer on each of the topics. So as we go forward, I'll probably cut you guys off as we hit the timer. There's no audible timer or on-screen timer, but I'll be keeping track on my side. So just as we get started, we're going to do our agenda for tonight is a quick post-game review for week 3. Talk about the 3 stars of the game, and of course our One World Foods Player of the Week. Some league announcements and reminders. We have some old ones, some new ones, several player transactions actually. So that's going to be a little bit of an interesting discussion. Quick preview of this coming Friday, and then also a continuation of our rapid fire segment. So if we kick it off, first game of the night was a 5-1 drubbing of Iman by Haya. Who wants to take this one?
I mean, I saw most of the game, and what can you do, right? You have your best or second best player in your GM who is not showing up to your games. Clearly, you have a bit of a frustrated team, and they just really got outmatched and outmuscled by Haya, right? And they had a replacement in Shiraz Mahmoud, who I believe has played in the league before, is a stable goaltender, but is not going to perform if the defense is not supporting him. And unfortunately, there just was not that support. I can't remember whether or not they had a short bench, but they definitely got outworked by Haya
Yeah, they
every
did.
step of the way.
Similar.
Yeah.
Similar.
4 subs on the bench. That's never going to help.
Right. So, I mean, what can you do, right? Already, they are a team that has been kind of typecasted as not having the stamina or the legs that maybe some of the other teams had or have, and that's going to happen, right? If you don't have the bench to support your players as they kind of give it their all, it's just going to end up tiring themselves out, and the goalie was kind of hung out to dry in a couple of them.
You talked about the legs. What do you have to say about Mustafa Alam scoring again? I think it's the second goal of the season already in 3 games, and a great shot from the point.
I mean, you feel free to jump in here anytime, guys. But
No, I thought he was talking to you.
I mean,
No,
look, Mustafa Alam is as Saka would say, is a legend. And even though he may not have the same finesse and legs and stamina as he once had, his skills are still quite good. I think that he would make a good second or third piece on a defensive pairing, defensive core. But again, there's only so much that one person can do. He can score a goal, but again, if only 4 guys are going to show up on the bench, like what can he do really, right?
finish. I
Oh,
think
boy.
that's the. I think Haya finally found their finish. So I'm not gonna pounce on Iman for being short benched. The guys that came out did what they could, and yeah, I mean, finished finally. I was talking to Hamoudi after the game, and he's like, "Yeah, we finally got the monkey off our backs, and Ahmed Khalid finally cracked that score sheet, and that pre-workout's finally coming in handy." And Hamoudi also found the score sheet. I think they're finally getting the rhythm. Adil Malik also scored, I believe. So they're getting contributions from everyone. So it's good to see. It's good to see them finally get their groove back, and Salman also pitched in for a couple points there. So it's we don't want to talk as much about Mon being shorthanded. Haya also came in and did their thing. You don't score 5 goals just like that, but it's hard not having a line and a half. You can't do much. it's very hard to win like that. So they need at least 2 lines to show up, and even then it gets tough. Guys need to be here, and shout out to those guys that were there. And Mustafa Alam is he's showing up. He's showing up every game, and he's contributing. That's all you can ask for.
Zoo, what are your thoughts on this game? Like, do you think this is the Haya that we should expect the coming weeks, or is this maybe Haya taking advantage of a little bit of a short benched Iman?
I think it's a combination. It's easy to focus on Iman being short benched, and that definitely contributed to a lopsided game. But full credit to Haya for taking advantage. I mean, there's teams that you play against 1-2 subs, and teams are grinding out a 1-2 goal win. So, they got good production across. Ibrahim Khan with a couple assists, Omar Malik, Aldo Malik with goals. Getting contribution from second and third lines is a good thing always. In a game like this, you could say, well, the third line got a goal against a weak team, but you need those guys to perform to gain confidence. And Haya is always known for the Haya hustle. You have to work hard, right? The goals will come if you keep working and putting an honest effort, and they earn the win. It's not their it's easy to say Iman short bench, and that's why the game went the way it is. But give credit to Haya for taking advantage and putting up the goals and winning the game.
Isn't this the second week that they lost? They had let five goals get scored against them.
I believe it is.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I
It
think
was, yeah.
yeah, right. So at some point that gets tiring. Like, it's one thing to lose consistently by 1 or 2 goals, but it's completely different to get blown out 2 weeks in a row. That can't be, that's quite demoralizing. So I think they are going to have to play more of a team defensive game if you're short benched.
We got to move on to
playbook is pretty
Sawi.
simple.
Just a quick note that it was good to see Ali Murtaza back after missing several games last season and also the first 2 of this season. Second game of the night was Taqwa versus Ikhlas, and a shout out here for Yusuf Kapoor and the Taqwa team.
Well, seeing as this is the team formerly known as Zuhair's team, yeah, maybe we should let him start.
This is another game where in this one, Ikhlas showed up short bench. I think they just had 2 subs. It was so.
Yeah, there are 2 subs.
You don't want to focus on, and you don't want to take away from Taqwa's game because they played solid, got the win, but take it with the caveat that Ikhlas was short benched and having 2 subs all game. Only maybe you could say almost only putting up 4 goals is bad. There's 2 subs and you only got 4, but Taqwa played well. They weren't pretty goals. They're hardworking. Omar Panchbaya with a 4-point game, 2 goals, 2 assists. They weren't pretty, but they're hard work, and full credit to him for putting in the effort and grinding out those goals and putting up the points.
Isawi, what do you have to say about Sadat getting 2 assists there? Your old defensive partner.
Oh man, I mean, I sound like a broken record right now, but obviously, clearly, I needed Sadat more than he needed me, and he's a stellar defenseman. What can you say? He's known more for his defensive stability, but it's nice to see him chip in a couple of assists. And one thing about Taqwa is that they scored from really high danger areas, which is what was lacking previously on the teams constructed by Kazi and Abu Mandra. And so, they were able to get into the slot. They were able to kind of weave their way into high chance areas, where in the past they seemed to be kind of keeping things to the outside and relying on these outside shots. And so it was really nice. You can see Taqwa kind of coming into their own and really developing their game. And so I'm excited to see where these guys go from here.
I think it's safe to say that no one's really going to win a game unless you have 2 lines out there. I think so far that's kind of been the story here. I think Ikhlas of last season could have probably done it, but that was a different Ikhlas team. I think everyone needs to show up and be accountable. And having 2 subs,
it was family day weekend, right? So I'm assuming that people probably had plans and stuff like that. Like you had guys like Idris Dean wasn't playing, right? Who was one of their higher draft picks. RC is nursing a bit of an injury.
He was coaching, injuries.
Yeah, right. So I don't know that they got the full challenge of Ikhlas, but again, like Zuhair said, you don't want to take anything away from Taqwa.
Yeah, you know what, and I think Omar Panchbaya is going to have a lot of One World Halal meat coming his way because he has his back-to-back. I think he's
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
Yeah, geez.
Oops. Well,
If we talk a little bit about Tucko's roster, you look at some of the guys like Zahid Patel, who's I believe he's a 4th-round pick. I don't know if he's found the score sheet yet in 3 games. If we look at that roster, who do you think it really needs to maybe step up a little and play into where they were drafted?
I mean, look, you have their 1-2, right? 1-2 picks who are playing stellar, right? You have Omer and Omer, right? Those are the 1-2 picks.
Yeah.
Plus their GMs, right? Who are performing, and then you throw Sadat into that mix, who was drafted, a little. I think it was a very good value pick at where he was picked. I mean, someone like Zahid Patel, I think they have him playing defense. I don't know if he's fully comfortable
Yeah.
there,
He's playing deep.
right?
yeah.
I mean,
I go
Zuhair
with
could probably
Nolan's
speak
view.
to it, right? Zuhair, this is your chance.
Lay it all on the line for your team.
Yeah, channel your
No.
inner Hanan. Let's hear it.
No repercussions now. They can't do anything.
What are they going to do?
It's-
Trade you?
It's a well balanced team. So I think the issue in the early games was actually putting the ball in the net. Generating lots of They have lots of good possession in the zone. Sometimes it's looking for the cute pass and not doing the dirty work and just putting it on net and cleaning it up. But that's kind of what we've been saying after the second game, and last week. That's how Umar Punched by put up some big numbers by getting the ball on net and cleaning it up. And I mean, Ikhlas, I think. Between Shariar and Farouk, I think they maybe took 30 seconds off each the entire game. So it felt like they were always on because there's no subs. So, I mean, Ikhlas didn't help themselves with some penalties that put you further down when you're already short benched. But it's, I think it's a well-balanced team. I think they can only beat themselves with discipline issues and just trying to be too fancy.
Trying to be too fancy, not anymore.
Definitely not fancy anymore.
They're a little bit less fancy.
If you look at game 3 now, we have another tie for Isan, 3-3 against Yakin.
Why don't you
Finish.
tell us about this game? You were in it.
Might as well have
Well, from an Isan perspective, I can give you that. Yakin went up to a 2-0 lead, and it was a little bit tough for us that they did. But full credit to the guys. We came back, scored 3 relatively quick goals. I'm just going to look at the score sheet. I don't know how quick those goals were, actually.
They're within 2.5 minutes.
There you go. Yeah. 3 goals within 2.5 minutes to take the lead. And 2 of those goals actually went off Adil Chauhan. So, a few lucky bounces, and those are bound to happen. Some stellar goaltending once again from Mohamed Mughal on our side. And, as it's been the story for Isan, we gave up a goal in the last minute or so to end up with another tie. So it's quite demoralizing to go back to the locker room, and while you get the point, it still feels like a loss. But it was great to have Bilal Hafiz come out. You see, he's the first
I was
star.
going to ask you that. How was it to have him there?
He had a strong first game of the season. Definitely noticeable out there. I believe he had a couple points, 2 assists. If I'm not mistaken. And Kadir had 2 goals. So, definitely a lot of production from the back end, which was really great. And if we...
Still not from your big boys.
Still not from our big boys. But Salman Sayed's not playing center anymore, and he's moved over to the wing, and we moved Hamza Shakil over to the center. And together with that
Hamza
first line...
Shakil playing forward? That's very
He was playing center, yeah. And that was a great look for our team. And I imagine that's something we'll probably carry forward, especially with Fuzzy coming back next week or this week, and maybe he's playing defense. I don't know how that's all going to work. I don't make those decisions, but I think the look we had last week is really something that we'll continue forward with. It's just holding the lead, which is what we really need to do and be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think Yakin tied it up, right? With like a minute left or something, or just
40 seconds, 41 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that one of the things that for me, just observing Ikhlas, is you guys play such a tight game both ways. And so I'm not expecting, any kind of blowout games, or I'm not expecting you guys to like crush teams or get crushed yourselves. But I think that what it requires is it requires your team to buy in. Like when you have the lead, I think that you guys have to stop going for it, especially towards the end of the game. Like even if you have to play like a trap style lining up at the line, I think that is what's required. And unfortunately, a lot of times what we have in our league in Islam is that guys go for it when it might not be the best time to go for it, when it might be just better to kind of lay back or sit back and just hold the line and really dump get the line dump, right? And for some reason, guys don't like to play that style, but I think that's something that you guys might have to explore because
Stat chasers.
Yeah, you know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, I
I
don't
mean, I
think
didn't want to say that, but
I don't think it's actually that's not the fact of it at all. I think it's more that we just have brain cramps late in the game, and it's not that we're going for those goals. Like this week, last week, what happened is we were in the defensive zone, and our coverage just broke down. You know, we just lost it, and it's almost we talked about it in the locker room. It's almost like thinking 60 seconds ahead of where we are, and that the game's almost in the bag, and we're doing it. But you know, shifting the focus a little bit from talking about Isan, if we talk about Yakin a little bit now. You know, Hamza Gaya came in. He was taken out earlier in the game. He, you know, ran into the boards a little bit, but he came in with a big tying goal with 41 seconds left. He seems to be having a good start to his Iceland career. Any thoughts on that?
he's played in Iceland before. This is not his
Has
first
he? Okay,
season, but
sorry.
at second last pick in for Yakin, I would say that it's up there with steal of the draft right there. He's very fast. He's quite tenacious on the ball. And as we saw, he's able to score, right? So I think that was a great move by RF and Co. In drafting him.
How did the team look with Adil Chauhan in the mix now? His first game of the season as well. He definitely had a big impact. Maybe not the type of impact you'd want to have.
So I did.
Sorry, one sec, Zuzu. Let me
Go
just
ahead,
jump in
Max.
real quick for a second. So obviously that it changed the way the team kind of played and how he quarterbacked it. Obviously, it's the way he plays and it allowed Sonny to kind of move a little more freely, and it gave them a little more. I've noticed it gave them a lot more control of the puck. So yeah, I think it's a good welcome change for them. I think that we'll just see it grow with time.
Great. And you know, as a Zuffer coming with a second start, he had a pretty good game. He's all over the place.
Energizer
as
Bunny,
usual.
Zuffer.
Can always count on him. And I think he's a little bit more comfortable now playing forward like he usually does. And then Chauhan did get the goal as well. If we talk about the last game of the night, this is another wide margin of victory. 5-0 for Rida over Suber. Maybe I won't sugarcoat this very much, but Isawi and Buck, since you guys played in this game and were on the losing end, maybe you can provide a little bit of perspective on what happened.
Go ahead.
Oh, you go. Take it over. Take it over.
I think this it was a game where again short bench, but it's not. We're missing a lot of our top guys to injuries and vacations and business trips and all that fun stuff. But basically, the game was actually a lot closer in my opinion than.
What are you talking about, my friend?
Not on the score sheet.
What were you watching?
Play.
Were you playing that game?
Okay.
Yes, I was. Listen,
I'm just going to cut you off right
it was
here,
two,
sir.
It was 2-0. It was 2-0 in the first half, and then everyone just lied down, and then 3 goals came just like that.
By lie down, do you mean sliding across the floor
No,
several
that's
times on a single shift?
those were good possessions. We were in their end, all right. That wasn't. You can't deny the slides.
Oh
Don't
boy.
deny the
Okay.
slides.
All right. Let's just.
I think we need to move on from Bucksha. Isabi, what's your take on this
let's
game?
just get this out of the way, okay? I hate to make excuses, so I'm not. I mean, it was just a poorly played game, and we got outworked, right? That's the bottom line. And we got outworked. They were, they had fresher legs than we did, and they ran circles around us, and that's it, right? And they were missing, Solomon Nakuda. They were missing Adil Patel, right? So they were also missing players, and again, there's no excuse, right? You play the game and you see what happens, right? And I think all around, Suber had a bad game.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to my good friend Faraz Alvi. And so there was obviously, yeah. So Faraz and I have a very a love relationship, and he's like an older brother to me, a slightly older brother, and so we played pickup together on Sunday, and we hugged it out, and it's always all love between us. So. He got the better of me this time, but we do meet again this season, and I'll be circling that on my calendar.
So I will say, in fairness to Bucks and Asawi here, you guys you're short benched. First half, Bucks, yes, it was 2-0, but second half they took advantage of the deeper bench. Kashif, I know, made some adjustments and kind of exploited some soft areas. It's hard. I mean, Badger and Net, face a lot of shots in close, weird angles. Rhythm may be missing two of their better players, but deeper bench and kind
Yeah.
of well organized, they were able to exploit some of the summer shortcomings with short bench and just having. It felt like guys were out of position as well, like just not playing where they normally would. So
I'm sure a lot of those, a couple of those goals, 2 or 3 of them, I know that Badger wishes he could have back. Just gaffes, and it is what it is, and
We're missing our
With
our secret weapon, right? In Hanan Gafour. Because
Yes.
Hanan does more than just pester you on the floor. He gets inside your head. And like, imagine if he was on the podcast the previous week and he said all the things that he said, and then he saw him on the floor. He's quite intimidating in that way, right? So, Hanan, we definitely missed you, buddy, and please don't do this to us again.
Well, someone you probably missed was Junaid Alvi, who's been
Yes.
a little bit of a revelation since last season, late last season, and I imagine he would probably made a significant difference to your team just to bring a little bit more of a more well-rounded game to you guys.
I agree. I mean, again, we'll eat the loss and we'll move on.
Yeah, give it up to Rida, 5-0. There's nothing you can say. They beat us.
Right, and in a big game from Huzaifa, two goals and an assist, 3-point night, shutout for Zaid. Not to rub it in, guys, but they had a pretty stellar night.
Thanks.
Hats off, guys. Good job.
Quick note here: our One World Foods Week 3 Player of the Week.
What a
this is
surprise, Bucks.
I know it's not it's not an error. It's not a mistake from last week's presentation podcast, but
We're just lazy.
Omar Panchvaya coming in with 4 points this week, 2 goals, 2 assists. These goals actually did go off his stick, I'm told. So they're actually earned, and he should have received a package from One World. So
You know what? Shout out to them, because Imran Lakapal just showed his box there. Like that's a nice piece. And if he's got 2 of those, he's good for a month of meat. Like he's good.
Good to know.
All right.
Great. Isava, you want to take over some of these announcements quickly?
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, we say this every week, but QR codes, you got to show them on your way in. If you have not taken your picture yet, I think we've gotten majority of the players in the league, but if you have not taken your picture yet, we will probably approach you next time we see you to get that done. Obviously, we hope that lots of people are able to get lots of awards at the end of the season. One World Halal Player of the Week, and so we need the picture obviously to make the graphic. Jerseys, just make sure that you have your jersey, you don't lose it. There is a replacement cost, and I've received a request to inform everybody that we expect you to wash your jersey as well. It's very difficult to play
All
with
your equipment,
people.
please.
Yeah, sure, all your equipment. Okay, and while you're at it, wear some deodorant. Okay, masks are required in the facility. And that is something that is it's a Toronto bylaw. So as of right now, so I want everybody to try to keep their masks on. We've been pretty good at reminding people to kind of pull it up, but do your best. All right. And the last one is vaping. So this is now a bullet point. Unfortunately, there are individuals that have been seen doing this inside the building. Again, Toronto bylaw, you're not allowed to do that inside the building. And so we thought we gave a pretty stern warning the previous podcast, but clearly there were some individuals who didn't heed that warning, and they were observed doing that again the previous week. So if you are observed vaping anywhere inside the building, it will come with a 1-game suspension, no questions asked. Okay, so if you're observed, it's really a one and done. So please don't put us or yourself in that position. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, so we have a few transactions that took place here. The first one is Sharif Beg, who didn't even dress for Taqwa this season, dropped out due to injury, unfortunately. Wishing him a speedy recovery, and inshallah he's able to join us again in the future. And as a replacement, Taqwa brought in Adnan Gungat, who went through the waiver process. Now, for those who may not be familiar with the waiver process, what happens is when a player drops, the team that brings in the replacement player does not automatically get that player on their roster. That player goes through waivers, where the team with the lowest winning percentage or lowest points, lowest in the standings, whatever you want to call it, they get first pick on that player. And if they choose to claim him, they can choose to claim or pass on him. If they pass on him, then it goes to the next team in the standings and so on. Once the team does claim that person coming in, they have to provide a replacement player picked in the same round or better to the team that actually brought the initial player in. So what happened in this case is as Adnan came in on waivers, Iman, who's the lowest in the standings, had the first picks on whether they wanted to claim Adnan, and they did. So they claimed Adnan, and as compensation, they gave Taqwa Adam Mufta. So, and this is in effect for this week.
Look at those shorts.
They stand out, don't they? Goes well with
They
the orange,
do.
actually.
I mean, yeah. All right. Most guys wear black shorts, but okay.
Buck, what's your take on this?
I don't know Adnan Gangat. I have no idea. You know how. I'm sure he'll be effective, and I think Iman's looking to make changes regardless. So you know, sorry to see Adam Mufta change, but it could be a better change for him as well. So time will tell. We'll see. Welcome Adnan.
My understanding is he's a younger guy. He's friends with Abdullah Patel, and one of the things that they needed was speed, right? And they needed someone who could run, someone who could. I'm not sure what his scoring ability is like, but they needed someone who could score,
Do
and
we know
so
if there's any?
they needed someone who could run rather. And so I think they exchanged some of the muscle for some speed, and so we'll see what happens. My understanding, he's quite young. He's probably one of the younger guys in the league.
Any relation to Abrar Gangat by any chance? Do we know?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right, another transaction. We have a trade here involving one of our panelists and OC members here. So a straight 1-for-1 trade between Taqwa and Iman. Zuhair Fancy going to Iman and Amr Hanif going to Taqwa. What's the take on this trade?
Well, Zuhair, you want to tell us?
I'll say, Amr's more versatile. He's able to play center and he can play defense, so it gives Taqwa some flexibility if they want to move players around, depending if they're short benched or not. So I can see the attraction there, giving you pieces. I think that was one of the things Sabr did well last year, that they had guys that were interchangeable in different positions, and it allowed them to adjust as required. If you're missing a defenseman, Junaid Alvi drops back to D. You're short at center, Junaid Alvi, Swiss and Tahir Maroof as well. Like, those guys are indispensable. So I will say Amr Hanif is a good acquisition there, because he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife that can fit into different spots down the spine of the rink and help them out.
Yeah, I mean, don't discount yourself either, Zuhair. I mean, you're a very steady and reliable defenseman.
I haven't played forward in 15 years, so those days are gone.
No, defenseman, I mean, and you can chip in with the odd goal here and there, right? And so I do think that Iman probably wanted to pair, Wasim is a very offensive defenseman, and those kind of individuals, they thrive when they have a steady defensive partner. And so the way that I kind of think of what Jihad might be doing is he might be trying to add a stabilizing force to the defensive core to allow his defense, or at least one of his defensemen, to jump up into the offense and contribute a little bit more than maybe they could have. Like, for instance, myself and Sadat. Sadat was a stabilizing force on the defense that allowed me to go and perform offensively, and so I think that that might be what Jihad was looking for, right? It was just that stabilizing that defensive force in the back.
Hey, don't sell yourself short, Zoo. You definitely give some stability to Iman, and they definitely need some stability on defense right now. So I think it'll be good, and I think you'll be able to bring a veteran leadership to that team as well. So I think all in all works for both teams. And yeah, man, Zoo Dowdy, I know you can score. Let's see it, buddy.
All right, another player withdrawing due to injury. This time it's Omar Dean from Yaqeen, who withdrew due to injury, and inshallah wishing him a speedy recovery. He didn't even suit up again either this season, and he went through the waiver process, and as a replacement, Yaqeen brought in Samad Hamidi. Hamidi. So he goes through the waiver process, and surprise, surprise, we have Iman involved in this again, claiming Samad, and as compensation, they have provided Yaqeen with Madni. So Madni will go to Yaqeen, and Samad will go to Iman.
I've been confused whether his name was Daniel or Madni for so many years. What was his first name? I always got confused. I call them Bundy anyways, but yeah. So yeah, Iman's retooling, refacing. You know, it's a clearance sale. Everything must go. No, I'm just joking. It's good. It works out for everyone. Welcome back, Summit. It's good to have you. Good to have you in here. Sorry to see Omar Dean go, but it's I think it's a welcome change for everyone, and I think Budney can give Yakin some offense, given the right positioning, and I think Summit can definitely help out on defense.
Someone's played forward as well, and someone's a
Yeah.
pretty
He is.
versatile defenseman, and
He
and
knows
he's
what he's
again
doing.
one of the credits to someone is that he's like a fearless shot blocker, and he will stand in front of anybody's shot and he will block it, and he'll do exactly what you need of him, right? Whether you need to play forward or defense, and so he's kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy, and Mudney has definitely a bit of a scoring touch, and if you pair him with I don't know, someone like Salman Azmat, they might be able to do some damage, right? So I'm looking forward to see what those teams look like.
Yeah, someone had actually he's not he hasn't played a lot of forward, but I think last season he had a really, really good season moving up and playing in that role, and he was quite effective. So looking forward, happy to have him back, of course, and see him around the rink, and also great to see him coming back into the league. All right, quick take on the schedule for this week. A minute per game. What do we say about the first game? What are the keys to the game?
Well, I'll start by saying this is the first week cross-divisional, so that's where it gets interesting to see when you face teams in the other division. Ihsan Iman, Iman can only go up, right? They're 0-3, worst defense in the league, worst offense in the league. It's sky's the limit. The only way they can go up. Ihsan, 3 games, 3 ties. It'd be interesting to see because I don't think either team has really played well. Clearly by Iman more obviously from the standings, but I think you'd expect Ihsan having a bit more cohesion, having the same roster for the first 3 games to be coming with the advantage, whereas Iman's getting a whole bunch of new players that now you're kind of back to the first day of school where you're trying to learn each other's names and you're going to spend the first 5 minutes, trying to understand positions and roles. So a little longer than a minute there, but Bucks, do you have anything?
Actually, no. So I'll take the next game
Sure.
for Ikhlas and Sabr, since it's going to be a biased review from Baksh and Isawi. I think Badger really needs to have a strong game, and I know that the past couple games haven't been his fault, or at least last week wasn't solely his fault. But he needs to really have a good game to support his team, and at the same time, guys like probably Isawi need to step up and start producing a little bit more than maybe he has or than he's known to. And then just up front, you have guys like Yusuf Sodegar. I know he scored 2 weeks ago, but then he wasn't available last week. I believe it was Zaifa wasn't there last week either. So it'll be good for him to come out as well. And then at the same time, you see guys like Wasim Kapadia, who I think has had a really good debut with Iceland. So I think those are probably some of the keys. And then on the Ikhlas side, whether it's RC, if he's able to come back, I think AR is going to come back as well this week. And you guys mentioned as well is that Maz really hasn't been that game breaker that they're looking for. So he really needs to step up. Who wants to take the next game?
For Bucks.
Yakin, there, done. Move on. No.
Am I on the podcast?
It'll be.
If anybody wants a slot on the podcast, please send your applications. Spot is going to be opening up soon.
The bar is quite low.
No, I'm joking. It's gonna be tough. But honestly, it will come down to can Yakin bring their full team out, and hopefully we see more of it. As they kind of get used to each other. I think they're still kind of figuring each other out. Will Hamza Guy continue to impress us? And will Johan be Johan? And I think Haya's figuring themselves out. So it'll be a toss-up, but Yakin, go ahead.
Isawi, what's your take on the last game of the night, Tucko versus Rida?
This is actually probably the game of the night, in my opinion. I think that You have two teams who are rolling, right? Two teams who really overwhelmed their opponents the previous week, and so you almost have like two teams moving at a high velocity that are about to collide. And I think that even though it's a late game and technically we don't have spectators, but this would be the game of the night in my opinion. And what's going to be very interesting is number one is on Ridda's side, which of their players are going to be coming out. Are they going to have a full team? Is Huzefa Banchbaya going to be available at the beginning of the game, or is he going to show up in the middle of the game? These are the questions, the burning questions that the people want to know. But in my opinion, right, I think this is going to be a very high pace, high tempo kind of game. I think, to be quite honest, I think that the difference maker is going to be the goalies, right? And Yusuf Kapoor has the ability to steal games when he's really, really on. And we know that the pedigree that Zaid comes with. So I believe that in terms of the offensive and defensive abilities, I think the teams are pretty evenly stacked, and I think that the goalies are going to probably be the difference maker. I'm calling it a pretty close game.
In game within the game as well is Huzefa playing against his boys on Takwa. So the hope is he'll bring his A game there.
I'm pretty sure he'll be on time for once.
Well, he was on time last week to beat up on Badger. So
they're all carpooling, so they'll all be there together on time.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so quick rapid fire segment here. A few questions, and maybe I'll shoot this out. This one goes to either Asawi or Zoo. The jerseys look amazing. Are there any other innovations on the horizon?
Zura, tell them about your name idea.
Actually, it would have worked well in hindsight. Apparently, it was meant for me. I had suggested finding a way to put names on the back of the jerseys. The idea I had balanced is if you have the name plate with Velcro and you just Velcro it. Apparently, that would have resulted in Abu Mandra just ripping my name off the back of my jersey before handing it to Amr Hanif. But it allows that nice feature of players having their names on jersey, which is fun.
And dramatic effect.
And
Isawi, through the first round of intra-divisional play, which team has surprised you the most?
I'm going to say that Yakin has surprised me in that I expected them to be a lot better than they have been. But in terms of the teams that I expected to be quite good, I think have been very good, right? We expected Haya to be good. We expected Ridda to be good. I think that Ihsan as well. I think that we had, at least if we rewind back to the first podcast, I had Yakin up there, I had Ihsan up there. I had Ihsan as like a top 3 team in the league as well. And they're playing very well, but they're just not getting the results. So I'm going to flip that question a little bit. I'm going to say that those two teams are kind of the standout teams for me in teams that maybe have not lived up to the billing.
Buck, which team, I guess is how we kind of answered this question for you, but which team do you think has underachieved more than others?
I'm gonna say
It's
Suburb.
okay, you can say Suburb.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Suburb, but no. Haya maybe a little bit, but I think they're getting their legs together. So it's still too early. I think that it's anyone's game. Well, again, Iman isn't doing so hot, but it is what it is. I'll say Suburb. We're not playing to our potential yet, and I think Haya still has another gear they can ramp up their offense too. So I think let's call it Haya.
You just won 5-1, man. How much more do you want them to gear up the offense?
All right.
More.
Moving on.
Zoo, which team is going to thrive on the interdivisional play over the next 4 games?
That's a good question. I think Ridda is actually really well balanced with one of the strong goaltending, strong defense. If Aldo Patel shows up, they have a good mix of leadership, good mix of youth and veterans. I think they could thrive because they play well and they play compact. And I think that some of the teams in the Mecca division that can't, you look at the Mecca division, every team has at least a tie. And Ihsan has 3 ties. So I think in those close games, Ridda has the game breakers that'll be able to put goals up and steal some wins.
Right. And this last question goes to all 3 of you. I just need one name, no explanation. Which player has surprised you the most thus far? It's how we go.
Hossein Malik.
Oh, that was my name.
Buck?
I'll just go with a different name, Hamza Gaya. He's offensively been really great. So we'll throw that out there.
Zoo?
I was going to say Hussein Malik because he's been impressive to start. I'll say my former teammate Umar Punchbaya, who I hadn't seen play in a while, but has developed offensively much more.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. That brings us to the conclusion of this week's podcast. I really appreciate you joining, and Zoo for joining the panelist crew. Hopefully, it's not the last time, and we didn't scare you off.
No, I want him as a regular.
No.
We'll put a vote up on a poll up on IG on whether Zoo should become a regular, and we'll go with that.
This felt like Leaf talk. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
and you're not allowed to create ghost accounts and vote on their Zoo. All right, so we'll be checking. But all jokes aside, thanks for joining, and appreciate the time tonight, guys. And inshallah, see everyone on Friday night.
All right, Assalamualaikum. Thank you, guys.
Friday night.
Take care, guys.